people screaming and cheering and dancing and playing instruments while hanging effigies of Jews, people with kippahs on them, being slaughtered, hanging in the streets. That's not in Afghanistan. It's not in Iraq. It's not in Gaza. It's not in Lebanon, Syria, none of those places. Do you know where it is? It's in Montreal, in Canada, in the year 2026. The police, no problem. It's all good. Let's give them an escort. The leaders of our country, zero, nothing, crickets. You don't hear anything out of them. Bottom line, don't get too comfortable. If you're here, then you're fighting. And if you don't want to be here, I don't blame you. Get out of Dodge. Best place in the world for a Jew to be is in Israel. That's why we have that country. That's why God gave it to us. Go there. Enjoy life as a Jew in the only Jewish homeland. That's where we belong.
The trust factor is your ticket to a better life. The trust factor shows you how to get through the night.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's another episode of the Trust Factor podcast. A little bit of current events. There's not a lack of current events in the world to talk about today, unfortunately, and none of it is particularly good when it comes to the Jewish nation. But it's important. It's critically important because you might be fooled into believing that you're safe in the places that you live and that everything is going to be fine and that this is all just going to blow over. And I have news for you. It seems to be getting more and more out of control and out of hand every day that goes by. What's the latest? Parades with people screaming and cheering and dancing and playing instruments while hanging effigies of Jews, people with kippahs on them, being slaughtered, hanging in the streets. That's not in Afghanistan. It's not in Iraq. It's not in Gaza. It's not in Lebanon, Syria, none of those places. Do you know where it is? It's in Montreal, in Canada, in the year 2026. The police, no problem. It's all good. Let's give them an escort. The leaders of our country, zero, nothing, crickets. You don't hear anything out of them. They support it fully and completely. And if you think I'm exaggerating, it's just a matter of time before you find out. Bottom line, don't get too comfortable. If you're here, then you're fighting. And if you don't want to be here, I don't blame you. Get out of Dodge. Best place in the world for a Jew to be is in Israel. That's why we have that country. That's why God gave it to us, because he knew what was coming down the pike. Nobody else did. That's why we have that land. Go there. Enjoy life as a Jew in the only Jewish homeland. That's where we belong, ultimately. If you're not going to go there, if you're going to stay wherever you are, be it Montreal, Toronto, New York, California, wherever you're going to be, get ready for a fight. And having said that, there's a young girl that I just stumbled upon the other day in Montreal who's taken up arms, which is amazing, in a legal way, not necessarily in a physical way. Her name is Anastasia Zorchinsky. I've shared her stuff online. Take a look. What she did that separates her from the pack is she started a fight. She said, not on my watch. And she hired lawyers, and her lawyers went out and started to file lawsuits against the city, against the police, against anybody who was involved in this rally. The more we remain quiet and allow these things to pass, because the old Jew of once upon a time comes out of us and says, don't make trouble. It'll all pass by soon. Just stay quiet. Don't make trouble. That doesn't work today. That's not who we are anymore. That went away in World War II. We learned the hard way. If you haven't learned, then step aside and let people like her and other people do the heavy lifting. But I suggest instead you get behind her. You don't have to lead the way, but if somebody's already leading the charge, get behind them. Do whatever you can to support people like that and their legal teams and their efforts, because making noise is the only real option that you have. That's it. They're going to make a lot more noise than we are. So you're not going to do it in the streets and rallies. You're not going to do it the same way that they do it. We're not going to, first of all, stoop to their levels because we love life. They love death. We're not going to do what they do. Instead, we're going to utilize the resources that are available to us in this free and democratic societies to be able to impact real positive change. So get behind her, guys. Time's ticking, and it's only getting worse by the day. Let's get into this, my friends. The Garden of Emunah. We're talking about somebody in debt, and today's lesson goes out to the business owners, the entrepreneurs of the world. If you ever wanted to find somebody who is challenged with their Emunah when it comes to financial issues, find an entrepreneur. Find somebody who's in business for themselves. If they have employees, Even better, that is a recipe for a challenge of your emuna, unlike many others. But before we get into that, let's just set the tone. It says that if you want to atone, if you want to fix it through your atonement, you want to reach out to Hashem and use the words I gave the other day and say, Hashem, I need your help. You can't do that from a blocked mind. You can't do that from a position where your mind is not working. It's not clear. You're in a fog. You're in a haze of depression, of anxiety, of worry. You can't. That's why he says true penitence must come from a clear mind and a happy heart. Otherwise, you can't do it. I'll give you an example. I went to the hospital a long time ago. I took an individual who was having a severe anxiety, panic attack, and he couldn't function. He couldn't see straight. His face was beet red. The veins were popping out in his neck. He couldn't focus on anything. I took him to a hospital to get some assistance, and the doctors wouldn't even look at him. The first thing that they do is give him a pill, a very powerful pill to be able to bring him back down, to calm the nerves, because you can't speak to somebody when they're in a state where their mind is all over the place, where they're not able to focus and reason and cut through all the noise. So first you have to come down. First you have to be in a state of calm and clarity and happiness in order to impact real meaningful change. And so that's what he's saying over here. It's the same thing. If you find yourself strapped with debt, if you find yourself choking out that you don't know how you're going to pay your bills, you don't know how you're going to get through this month, and now you're trying to connect back to your creator, now you're trying to find a real meaning, good luck. It's going to be very difficult for you. The right thing to do is to stop and do some reflection, introspection, and figure out, where are you holding in life? Forget the money. Forget about finances. Forget about business. Where are you holding with your relationship with your creator? That's it. Focus on that. You can't be in that mindset that the world is falling apart around you and that the sky is falling and try and connect back to your creator. Not in that state. It won't work. It won't be effective. So first, find yourself a moment of comfort, a moment of peace, a quiet room, an area where you can sit, reflect, and block out the noise. And then when you're in that situation, you're primed to be able to connect back to your creator. That is when you start to put things into real perspective. And it says that a person trapped in debt is full of sorrow and worry. His mind and his heart are clogged. He must therefore take the approach of strengthening his emunah, where he asks Hashem to have mercy on him and to realize that this too is for his ultimate good. Get to that point first. If your heart is clogged, if your mind is fogged, you can't get to that point. First, get to that point and then start to ask. Now, let's switch gears to the entrepreneur, because I wasn't kidding. I'm a lifetime entrepreneur. The only time I ever worked for anybody was about 30 plus years ago that I worked for the banks. After that, it was all me, my wife. We are serial entrepreneurs. We've been that way our entire lives. It's not for everybody, and it's certainly not for the faint of heart. If you're contemplating it, test it out, but don't be upset if it doesn't work for you. Don't be upset if you can't eat what you kill. In other words, you need to get a paycheck. If you need to get a paycheck, then go work for somebody. There's nothing wrong with that. I know many, many people who are living wonderful lifestyles as employees, getting a paycheck, making a very, very good living. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to be independently wealthy. And there is certainly no guarantee that being an entrepreneur is going to make you wealthy. You'll often find yourselves paying your employees while you don't take a paycheck home. You'll often find yourself strapped, completely strapped, borrowing money to keep the business afloat while everybody who works for you is taking home their paycheck. They're sleeping well at night, but you're not. It doesn't jive. A lot of people don't understand that. If you don't understand that, then maybe entrepreneurship is not for you. But if that doesn't faze you, then you might want to give it a shot, because it comes with a lot of potential benefits. It says a business person without emunah is miserable. He gives a story. A depressed merchant once came to me seeking advice, and I told him, your business and money problems result from the fact that you think you're the boss, and therefore all the worries are on your shoulders. You depend on your own brains, your own intellect and abilities, your business acumen and your talent, and therefore you suffer bitter disappointments when things don't go the way that you want. Sound familiar? Even worse, you put your trust in people, in customers, in vendors, in employees, in the banks, and the like. and they will let you down. They will lie to you, and they will cheat you. Your employees will cheat you. Your vendors will cheat you, and even the banks will cheat you. And he continued, he said, if you only realize that the creator runs your business and that you are merely a clerk, then your job would become much simpler. You wouldn't need to worry, you wouldn't need to suffer, and you wouldn't need to lose your temper. If you're a business owner, you know exactly what we're talking about because this resonated with me like you wouldn't believe. This is the life of an entrepreneur. We run around thinking that it starts and stops with us, and rightly so. I built the business. I created it. I invested. I borrowed money. I came up with the idea. I hired. I trained. I did all these amazing things. So I should attribute these successes to me and my efforts. And that makes me the boss. I hire and I fire. I decide which vendor I'm using and which one I'm not. I decide when I'm going to pay and when I'm not going to pay. I decide how much I'm going to pay and how much I'm not going to pay. I make all these decisions every day. So what you're effectively doing is convincing yourself that you're the boss, because certainly you're going through the motions that a boss would. And that comes with a real risk of being blinded by the lies that you're telling yourself. Imagine as an entrepreneur, just imagine this. I've been doing this lately after 30 years of being in business for myself. Lately, I've been trying to do this more and more. It's very difficult, especially when you're a long-term entrepreneur and everybody is relying on you and your decisions and the choices that you make and the efforts that you make and the commitments that you make. All these things that you do impact all of your vendors and all of your customers and all of your employees. And so there's an unbelievable amount of stress for a business owner to perform. And so the right way to do it is to walk into your office like you're a clerk, like you're any one of your employees. Imagine that. I have yet to find an individual that operates like that. I have yet to find a business owner who walks into his business and puts himself on the same level of every one of his employees. But that's the right way to be. If you want to demonstrate a level of emunah, not just for yourself, but for the people around you and for your creator, then you walk into your office with the knowledge that you are just another employee, just like everybody else. And that will relieve you of so much stress. What do you want from me? I'm just an employee. I can't do what you're asking me. I can't. I don't have the resources. I'm sorry. Maybe next week I will. Maybe the week after. I don't know. I'm showing up. I'm giving 100%. More than that, I haven't got to give. I can't pull stuff out of a hat. I'm going to continue to give 100% effort, and the rest is out of my hands. When you approach life like that, first of all, the people who see you and interact with you, including your staff, will realize that you're a modest individual, that you are real, that they can connect to you on a real level, that you're not a boss sitting in an ivory tower. You're not this perfect individual that they can come to with all the problems. No, they realize that you're also faulty and that you also have weaknesses, and they'll step up and they'll try and help you, because otherwise, you're giving them the image of you as being this problem solver, this unbelievable problem solver who fixes everything. And he's so much better than everybody else, and he's so much more capable than everybody else. And he's also very demanding and specific and particular in the way that he wants things. So I'm not even going to try to fix the problem. I'm just going to bring it to him. That's what you invite. You invite more problems when you walk around thinking that the buck stops with you. But if you're just like the rest of your employees and they see that you can scratch your head and go, I don't know what to do over here. Do you know what to do? Can you give us some insight over here? You're talking to a minimum wage employee, right? Suddenly, that employee looks at you and goes, wow, okay, maybe I do have what to offer over here. Maybe I can relate back to this individual. Maybe I should step up and do things that I once thought only he can do. Do you understand? It's an entire shift to the way that you operate. That's what he's suggesting over here. You need to walk in with the idea that you're a clerk, and all of your problems that come with being an entrepreneur, with being a business owner, 98% of them go out the window. Oh, is it hard to do? Oh my gosh, is it hard to do? Are you kidding me? The longer you've been an entrepreneur, the longer you've been in business, the longer you have people coming at you and you're the point person on every decision, the more people rely on you, the harder it becomes for you to withdraw and start to employ this technique. So my advice to anybody who's starting out in business is start out just like this. Recognize there's a God who runs the world. He calls the shots. He determines your success or your failure. All you need to do is step up, whether it's at a job or at a business. So walk in there like you're anybody else, no better than any of your employees, vendors, customers. You are just another cog in that wheel, and Hashem will make sure to handle all of the things that you would otherwise need to manage and control. Remember, though, at the same time, there's always that caveat. You need to be doing his work. You need to recognize that he runs the world and that he wants you to do certain things. And when you do those things, then he will take care of everything else that would otherwise be a distraction for you.
Thank you for spending time with us on the Trust Factor podcast. If you've heard something today that moved you, save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor podcast. Thanks for listening.